All right. I hope this works because I tried multiple times and encountered a recording error. So for those of you who are on the field trip today, this is what you missed. First of all, this packet will be online. And we're not done with it, but we're getting some problems done with it. If we remember having the definition of a parabola. So we have a line that we call the directrix, and we have a point that we call the focus. And the definition of a parabola, it's the set of points generated such that there is a common distance to the directrix as to the focus. This isn't a great example because like those distances are off. But let's say maybe there and there, maybe a bit closer. But a parabola is generated by those such points, where this distance here is equal to that distance there, and so on and so forth. Parabolas can open in one of 4 different ways, as you know. It can open up, it can open down, and it can open left, or it can open right. There's a few ways to tell which way that opens. And the first thing we're going to do for that is all we need to do is look at the orientation of the directrix and its focus in relation to each other. If the focus is above it, then it's going to go open up. If the focus is to the left of it, going to be opening to the left. People. If the focus is to the right of it, it's going to open to the right. If the focus is below it, it's going to be opening down. You can also somewhat tell by the orientation of the line. Is it vertical or is it horizontal? That delineates, or at least narrows our category, our search a little bit. So there are 2 sets of equations for parabolas, and I'm going to go over them again briefly before we get into this example. So if it opens up and down, up or down, excuse me, because there's only one of them, right? It's not a hyperbola that has 2 curves. A parabola is 1 curve. If it opens up and down, then let's see, the equation would be, so with a vertex HK, it would be the following equation. X minus h parentheses squared is equal to 4p y minus k. So the key thing to note is that if it's going up or down, the x is going to be the thing squared. And I think we all know that just implicitly from algebra. If we have y is equal to x squared, we know that's going like that. If it's negative x squared, it's going to be going like that. It's the same sort of thing. So the key difference between what makes it open upwards and downwards is simply, is there a negative sign on this side? Do we see a negative here? So if we see a negative before, like, with the y somewhere, then it's going to open down. So similarly, if it's opening left or right, sorry, let's do up, down. So if it's opening left or right, it's going to be of the form y minus k squared is equal to 4p x minus h. By the way, you might be wondering what p is. We're going to get to that. So hold off on it for just a minute. Let's see. All we see here is that the y is the thing that is squared now, and the x is not. They just kind of swap places. So in the same sort of way, all we need to ask is this going to be opening left or right? Well, if we think of opening, if we're going to the right, that means we are going to the positive side of the x-axis, right? We're going, for increasing, we're going to the either to the right or up. In this case, left or right. Increasing means going to the right. So if this side here is positive, then we know where it's opening to the right. If it's negative, if it happens to be negative, then it's opening to the left. So we're going to keep these equations here because we're going to have to choose amongst them. Among us. All right, so we are given these values of the focus and the directrix. This focus is at the coordinate 2, 3. Let's plot that. 2, 3. And we are given the directrix and the line y is equal to 1. Let's put that in there as well. Y is equal to 1. Okay. So then there are a few things that we can do from this, and we're going to be able to determine the vertex and make this equation all through that. So this vertex is the point HK. So let's put that in there. That it's the H and K that we put into the equations here. So it is, how do we determine it? How would we determine that? It's halfway between the focus and the directrix. So we can find that, we can take a look at it. I think it's a lot easier to see that when we have a graph. Seeing it just from this might make it a little bit more difficult. Well, halfway between this point and this line, well, the closest distance from it is a vertical distance, right? We want the smallest possible distance. We don't want to draw distances like over here and stuff. We don't want to do that. So this distance would just be 2. So the halfway distance would put us right there, or the midway point would put us right there at 2, 2. And let's make that a different color. Okay, so 2 and 2. So we have our value of H and K. Okay, from this, how do we write the equation of this parabola? Well, first we have to know which way it's opening. Well, we should know by the way the focus is oriented with the directrix that this is going to be opening upwards. It's going to be something like that. With the directrix going horizontally, it's either going to be going up or down. If the focus is above it, it's going to be going up. So we know, so step 1 is choose an equation. Let me go back to, let's go to red. So we're going to be choosing the up-down equation. That's this guy. So we'll say x minus h squared is equal to 4p. There's not going to be a negative there. Y minus k. Step 2 is plug in h and k. So we get, well, we have 2 for both of them. X minus 2 squared is equal to 4p y minus 2. So then step 3, which is we're going to start to find this value p, which is very similar to what we already found. Find p. And p, you see how like we found the midway point between the focus and the directrix? So p is just whatever that halfway distance is. This distance is just 1, right? So p is the distance. So there's 2 ways to describe p. You can either say, oh, it's from the vertex to the focus or from the vertex to the directrix, right? So from the focus, 2, and I'm going to say, I'm just going to branch it out like this. I'm sorry, I put the wrong thing. Not from the focus. From, please turn to eraser. From the vertex to the focus or the directrix. So that distance is 1. So here, P is equal to 1. So then step 4 is plug in P. So we have x minus 2 squared is equal to 4. 4 times 1 is just 4. 4y minus 2. And there we are. So there will be a cheat sheet for this on in class tomorrow. We're gonna have an exit ticket on it, but it's just these few things that you need to really nail down, and you can find them all just given this one line, this one point. So I hope this was helpful. Let me close